Good afternoon, fellow Australians. I've been asked to give my opinion about 2009 Australian of the Year, Professor Mick Dodson's argument that the celebration and holiday of Australia Day, January 26th, be moved to another date considering it is regarded as Invasion Day by many Indigenous Australians. I definitely applaud Dodson's contention that the Australian government consult the community and select a more appropriate date for our national celebration. Until recently, I was unaware of the contrasting significance of January 26th, Australia Day, as I only knew it as the day the First Fleet arrived in Sydney Cove in 1788. The negative significance had always been masked until mainstream Australia was made aware of this by Professor Dodson. Aboriginals have a legitimate complaint that should not be swept under the carpet by the Australian government. As an Australian citizen, it is my contention that Australia Day be celebrated on September 1. It's disgraceful that our nation turns a blind eye towards this issue, especially our government, who should be setting a good example for the people. It's as if the government isn't taking action on this issue because it already feels justified for apologising on behalf of Australia for the stolen generation. Australia Day is meant to signify the unity of all Australians, a multicultural land we can all celebrate proudly together as one. In my opinion, January 26th is an insult to all Indigenous Australians. Joyfully celebrating an event that marks Invasion Day, a day that symbolises so much pain, suffering and sadness, shows no respect at all towards our fellow Indigenous citizens. Don't we have any compassion? Do we not care? Sadly, I think that is the case, which makes me question my pride in being Australian. I was astonished that the poll in the Herald Sun resulted in 81% of 3,932 votes being a no for moving the date of Australia Day. This exposed the lack of respect for one's fellow Australians, or should I say, the lack of respect for Aboriginals. Those who don't believe the date of Australia Day should be moved need to wake up and place themselves in an Aboriginal shoes. Let's see how joyful and patriotic they would feel on January 26th, knowing that thousands of their forefathers were brutally killed starting from this date, while everyone is celebrating, having relaxing barbecues and attending meaningless ducky races and tall ship parades. You wouldn't feel too enthused, would you? It saddens me deeply, and I would have thought Australians would know better. What upsets me the most is the ignorance of those who simply don't want Australia Day moved because of petty reasons such as barbecues and summer weather. Come on, is that for real? I just don't understand how we can accept January 26th as our Australia Day because it's not inclusive of all Australians. Isn't that a little ironic? The truth is, the ones who don't care have all their priorities wrong. I think inclusiveness on Australia Day is just a little more important than a summer barbecue. There are 365 days in a year. You can't tell me that there isn't a more appropriate day for Australia Day. I wouldn't believe it. Australia will truly be granted the celebration of Australia Day when a republic comes into being. The thousands of us who are descended from convicts, such as myself, can't be proud of this day either, as our forefathers suffered terribly under British law enforcement. Until we become a republic, Australia Day should be celebrated on September 1. Why September 1? Because it's the beginning of spring, the rebirth of nature. Instead of relating Australia Day to an historical event that holds negative baggage, such as politics and racism, why don't we start afresh, as nature does? A day which offends neither black nor white, a day symbolizing equality. September 1 is also known as Wattle Day, which was established in the late 1800s. The aim of Wattle Day is to promote the celebration of being Australian, the Australian environment, and looking forward. Australia Day couldn't be more perfectly symbolized. The barbecue fanatics would be happy also, as the weather is just right. It allows everyone to look forward to the future, because the season of spring signifies the new Australia, the Australia that is enriched by its multiculturalism and its land of equal human rights. The famous poet Henry Kendall explains the significance of spring in his poem, September in Australia. Grey winter hath gone, like a wearisome guest, and, behold, for repayment, September comes in with the wind of the west, and the spring in her raiment. The waves of the frost have been filled of the flowers, while the forecast discovers wild wings with halo of hyaline hours, and the music of lovers. Kendall's beautiful poem applies to this issue as it metaphorically refers to spring as being an angel gracefully replacing coldness and negativity with warmth, acceptance, and love, qualities that promote change and racial equality amongst Australians. Come on, Australia, if America can make change, so can we. Let us be considerate towards our fellow Australians, without discrimination, and let's stop being selfish and help make this change for the good of Australia and its people. I think it's the least we can do for each and every Australian by changing the date of Australia Day so we can all share and celebrate it together as one. Let's live up to our anthem's title, Advance Australia Fair.